you ever let the color of your skin, where you come from, the environment you grew up in, stop you from chasing your dreams, baby, let's get it. My hand to please don't segregate. Dressed in a suit, I can't relate. Minority report, can't ignore being rich from poor and your credit score. My hand to please don't segregate. Dressed in a suit, I can't relate. Minority report, can't ignore being rich from poor and your credit score. See, all I wanna do, educate the masses. They didn't teach me about my...
Not again? You're like, come on, dude. Well, episode 2, guys. We're excited. Cheers to that, bro.
Yeah, man.
Actually, matter of fact, we brought this this little thing right here because we want to take a shot real quick and celebrate episode 2.
It rhymes with tequila. If you're not watching.
So cheers to everybody watching. Thanks for following, and cheers to you, bro.
You too, bro. All right, episode 2. I am your co-host, Dan Delgado.
I guess I'm the host, Billy the Kid. So real quick, actually, yeah, let's do a quick intro. You know, maybe they didn't watch the first episode. So I'm Billy the Kid. I do some music, hip hop. I'm also an investor, real estate investor, entrepreneur, own a couple businesses. And then Dan, go ahead.
Yeah, Dan Delgado. I am a real estate investor in Lincoln. Still very much a noob. And I have a video production business. And I still work a W-2 job.
Nice. Yep. And I was going to say it again, bro. Like, can't wait till we get to that episode. You know,
yeah,
financial freedom.
But
and that's what's nice, guys, is that you're kind of hearing 2 points. I was there not too long ago myself, and so you know, I'm excited to see the growth, basically. And obviously, you're doing things. It's not like you're just sitting around. Obviously, you're busy and doing your stuff. But make sure you guys subscribe to our YouTube. Make sure that you guys follow us on Instagram. What else?
I think that's it, man. I think you know, we definitely got a huge amount of support for that first episode.
Yeah.
So I want to say thank you to everyone that liked it and subscribed on YouTube, and that's been watching it on several different platforms for podcasts. We'll try to get it out to the bigger, like the Apple podcasts and the Google ones. This week should be able to have all that done. Still working on the website. But, you know, we got a lot more in store. We got some awesome guests lined up.
Yeah.
Pumped for those. I kind of want to get through our episodes.
Yeah,
you know, it's important. It's important for people to know where we're coming from, because
and
why we're doing what we're doing. But yeah, again, thank you for the support. It's been awesome. Like, I had no idea.
Yeah, no, and that's what I was gonna say, bro. It threw me off a little bit. Like, obviously, I think we're just humble dudes, obviously, you know, at the same time. But I feel like, we got a bunch of messages, and, you know, people that know us, and then people that didn't, or, you know, vice versa. You know what I mean? Your people, my people. So it was awesome. So thank you guys. We're very excited, and we're even more excited to see, you know, the first episode went well. So again,
I'm waiting for that first piece of hate mail.
Oh man, it's gonna come. It's gonna come. Oh yeah, no, I'm
not nervous. It is what it is.
Actually, bro, I'll bring this up, man, because so I'll tell you guys what now. I've performed in front of 1,000 people plus. You know, actually, probably, I think the biggest show I've done was like 3,000 people, 4,000, something like that. Opening up for like Boozy, Kevin Gates. So I tend to forget, like, in my mind, I feel like everybody's like not, you know, with the stage, like, oh, just get up there and do what you do. So what's crazy is that this man right here has never really done anything like that. So obviously he does video. He does. Oh, shaky. No. He does video editing and stuff. He owns his business, so he's always the man behind the camera, which is a whole. I've been there myself. I've done some music videos for people too, and so I know how it is being behind. It's like, no, dude, you know, this and that, or, you know, but he reminded me on a text midweek. Yeah, bro, you know, or actually no, when the episode aired. Yeah, he's like, you know, and I was a little nervous. I'm nervous now. I'm like, and he mentioned it, like, you know, I've never really done anything like this. I'm like, dude, And I like it like hit me because he did so good. Like you really did, bro.
Thanks, man.
I'm proud of
Sure.
that. Another shot. No, what were you about? He's like, oh, we'll do one here in a few. But no, I'm really impressed because and honestly, bro, it's just another thing that showed me that it's like we're onto something. You know what I mean? We're in the right path, and you know how we met and stuff. So I'm excited, and like I said, good job on
Thanks, bro.
how you did.
Appreciate
Like let them know how you felt, man. Like
It's very uncomfortable for me to be in front of the camera and to hear my own voice. I told my wife, like, I thought I sound a lot sexier than I do. I'm just like, dude, I'm like one octave lower than Speedy Gonzalez. Like, I'm just like, damn, dude, I thought my voice was deeper and sexier than that, but I guess not, you know? No, but it is uncomfortable. It still is kind of, you know, and it'll take some getting used to for me, but
you made a good point earlier though about being uncomfortable. I don't know if you remember that. Let him know.
Yeah, you know, I think
everything.
The biggest amount of growth is when you get out of your comfort zone. And so for me, you know, this is kind of a self challenge to, you know, and I know I can do it obviously, but I think the chemistry that you and I have when we talk about these things, I think it's great for people to hear. Our stories, our perspective. You know, the whole thing about this show is having the perspective from two people that are not your typical investors. So, you know,
it reminded me of, you know, I always think like with vacations, like I love doing vacations, and it like and now it reminds me because it's like the reason why I like vacations is you get put in a spot where like you're not used to it. When you go to a different place that you've never been to. Yeah. It's kind of like you have to survive, you know, in a way, like, you know, okay, we got to find the hotel, then the food, you know, and so it's uncomfortable, which is great. So, you know, put yourself in that situation, and that's growth, man. That's really growth. And you're doing it, man. Like I said, I'm proud.
Growth is on the other side of comfort.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's definitely where I'm at right now. But, you know, I think what we're doing is a good thing, and we're going to help people out. So I'm good with that.
Yeah.
So, all right. So let's get this show on the road.
Well,
we got book of the week. It's your turn.
Oh, that's right. I was about to be like, hey, bro, let me start with, so book of the week. So last week, if you heard the first episode, we did Rich Dad Poor Dad, which is, I said it was my second favorite. So my first, or my number one favorite book is Think and Grow Rich.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And so what's crazy, guys, is this was...
That's Napoleon Hill?
Oh, yeah. Okay. Man, I love him, dude. And you know, rest in peace. But we're going to talk about another book of his later on as well that, like, it was around that same time. But what's crazy, bro, is with that book... I remember I was going through some crazy stuff, dark times, you know. I was in a car accident. This was in like 2013 when I started hitting my runs. And that was one of the first books that I heard. And I swear to God, guys, it was like, it was an audiobook. So I felt like he was talking to me. Like that's literally how I felt. And basically, Think and Grow Rich, like the title says it all. What's crazy is if you listen or read it, it's always kind of like, read the next chapter to find out, you know what I mean? But it's really simple, guys. It's really like the law of attraction that
it's a lot about mindset.
Yep. And so, I mean, it literally, bro, changed my life because like I said, I felt it goes from, it's not just financial. It's like relationships, like, marriage. It talks about sex. It talks about like literally every single thing. Cause even sex, like, especially, you know, when you're young and you think sleeping around and stuff, obviously we all know STDs and all that, but it's beyond that. You're changing energies with people. And I know it's like, so it got deep like that in different subjects. Like I said, relationships.
He was ahead of his time. Like,
very.
Like the concepts that he brings up in that book, and a lot of it is like not what you would expect because for that era, a lot of it is about, like you said, like energy and just kind of how the universe works in your favor when you have the right mindset.
Yeah, and that was before all the stuff that are out now with the law of attraction.
Yeah, like way before.
So it honestly, if you guys haven't, and that's another book, bro, that I listened to. That's actually the first book that I pick up every year. If you listen to it, it's like 9-10 hours long, but man, like I said, it changed my life. And then Rich Dad Poor Dad was the one, you know, that kind of with the business. But Think and Grow Rich, if you're on some growth, like if you want to grow you have to listen to that. Like I said, it's all in your mind, literally. Like whatever you want, it starts in your mind. Once you have it in your mind, then your mind automatically starts. Matter of fact, because of that book, if you look at my phone, before I unlock my phone, it has all my goals and
that's a good idea.
I am this, I am that. Yeah. And I always tell people to do that because the book says go ahead.
Pro tip right there. That's
It
that's
is.
good. I like that.
Yeah, it is. Because like a lot of the books tell you to do a vision board, right? Somewhere where you're gonna look at it every day. Well, guess what? Your phone, you look at it every hour. Or probably longer or faster than that. So every time I look at my phone, so literally before I go to bed, I put my phone away. Like I read it, and then in the morning I read it as well because that's what the book said. And honestly, it changed my life and it worked.
That is, I don't know, that's so simple, but it's awesome, dude. Good job. That's really good. Like, I'm gonna do that.
You're all like, what's it called?
I got goosebumps. No, that's a good idea.
Do you have anything else to add on that book?
No, I mean, I think it's a great choice, and I did read it. I think I read it for the first time 2 years ago. But yeah, I mean, everything you said is spot on, and dude, that guy was, like I said, so ahead of his time for the concepts that he brings up. So it's a little bit like, I don't want to say it's a dry read. It's a different type of, I don't know if it's English, I guess, for that era.
Yeah.
So you kind of have to pay a little bit closer attention.
Yeah.
But once you get to the meat of what he's trying to say, you're like, damn, like this dude is deep.
Yeah. No, it's deep for sure. Like you said, energies and vibes. That's really, I like how you said he was ahead of his time because he was. So, but yeah, check it out if you guys haven't. But today, guys, we have a special guest in the building. I need to stop that.
No more tequila for me.
So Dan, obviously on the first episode we talked about my story. So now I'm very excited to actually get to know you. I know about you. But I want like the audience to know exactly where you're at. So let's take it back. Let's start from the beginning. So what makes you a minority?
Well, I'm a first generation American. My parents are both Nicaraguan.
But no, on a real note, bro. I was just giving you crap because of the last episode. You're like, what makes you a minority? I'm like, you have to. But no, let's take it back. So let's take it back as far as you could remember.
Jeez,
and all that.
I have a horrible memory, but so I mean, I guess I'll just start where I was starting. Anyways. I mean, my parents are immigrated here from Nicaragua. My mom was 14. Her mom had passed away from complications with a stroke, and then my dad moved to Miami. My mom went to the Bronx in the 70s, and my dad moved to Miami. And at some point, they crossed paths in New York. And I was raised in Brooklyn, in East New York, and the Cypress Hills projects. And so, I know we lived in other places before then, but like most of my childhood memories start from when we moved to the projects.
So you were born in New York?
No, technically I was born in California. So my parents.
I want to hear that. Like, where were you born?
So I don't know why they went to California, but at some point when my mom was carrying me, they moved to California. But we moved to Brooklyn when I was 6 months old. So I have no recollection of California at all. And I don't consider myself a West Coast dude at all, Dang
it.
Biggie Smalls all the way.
Tupac.
But yeah, so no, I mean, I remember small bits and pieces about other areas in Brooklyn that we lived in. But most of my childhood, man, it was in East New York, Cypress Hills projects, and I witnessed a lot of violence.
Real quick, what part of California were you born?
It was some part in LA. I know it was in LA. My birth certificate says Los Angeles, but it's so huge. Okay. I have no idea.
Yeah. Okay.
If you can figure that out, let me know.
Yeah. No, that's awesome though. So it does say LA. Like
it's in Los Angeles. Yeah, LA. And people always, whenever I give my social security number out for anything, they always think it's funny because the first 3 numbers are like California numbers, and so people aren't used to that. And so, but yeah.
What is it? Okay, so you're in Brooklyn now. So you obviously went to elementary there.
Yeah, no, I was there, up until I was about 15, 16, we moved to Nebraska.
Okay.
We had some family friends that came out here just looking for a better opportunity. I mean, you know what it's like living in a big city, you know, like I was getting at, you know, I experienced a ton of violence. There was a lot of drug use, not like in my family, but in my environment.
Yeah, and go ahead and touch on that. So, yeah, this is way before Nebraska. So you went to elementary there. Like, what were you seeing during that time?
Yeah, I vividly remember. It's kind of crazy because when we moved into that particular set of projects, it was like nightly, dude. That my dad used to have this like 1990 something conversion Chevy van. Like, I mean, the thing had like a little kitchenette in it and all sorts of stuff in it. And so we had, thank God we lived on the first floor of these projects, because man, you went into the elevators or the staircases in there and it was nasty. Like, it was piss and shit and all, I mean, and crack vials and all sorts of stuff in there. So I've, you know, looking back, I'm like, God, I'm so grateful we lived on the first floor. But we lived, where we lived, the one of the windows, I think it was my sister's bedroom, was like directly facing the street that my dad would park on. And from night one, when we moved into those projects, like my dad's van was getting broken into every single night. And I remember like vividly, I have two older brothers, well, two full brothers and 2 half brothers, but the two, you know, full blood brothers, they, every night they would come out, you know, with bats and whatever, you know, because
Like
they had to, ready, because these people, and then it's kind of crazy because at first it was just my dad and my 2 brothers, and I was too young to do anything, and there's no way they would let me do anything. But as we were there kind of longer, and this was nightly, as we were there longer, you know, there was like other neighbors that would come out and try to help, and so there was a little bit of a sense of community there. But for the most part, like I said, I mean, it was the only environment I knew.
Right.
So like I didn't know how crazy that was.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, you know, that same street, you know, I witnessed a murder. It was we lived on Linden Boulevard, and so it was like 8 lanes of traffic. And I remember there was these 2 dudes fighting, and then one dude shot the other dude in the stomach, and I mean, there was a dead body, you know.
Yeah,
and, you know, there was another time I
when
witnessed
when you were witnessing all that, like what was going through your head? Like, as far as like, obviously you're a little kid, so like,
it was like 7, 8 maybe at that time.
Okay. Like financially, like was that even like a thing in your mind at that point? Like, we're going through this because we're
No, actually,
poverty,
I had no idea we were poor. You know,
Yeah.
like, I just knew that was my life. And when you don't know any different, then you don't really have anything to compare it to. Like, honestly, that was my bubble.
That was just life.
Yeah,
Like,
I mean, there was nothing I thought.
But
I could
was
think
there
of.
like something already in you that was kind of like,
Nothing
okay,
weird. Like,
no?
you know, I've my mom, she asked me like today, like, why are you doing this podcast? You know, just like, because, you know, I'm a busy guy. She's like, why are you doing more? But you know, and what it comes down to, you know, when I was growing up, I only knew 2 families in like our circle of friends and stuff,
Yeah.
that owned homes in Brooklyn, and everybody else I knew, you know, had an apartment or something that everybody rented. And so these 2 families had like houses, and to me they were just like rich. I had nothing to base that off of. I just knew like, hey, that's like
in your mind.
in my mind, yeah, like oh, these people are rich, you know. And I always looked up to them, and I was just like, wow, that's so awesome, you know. But like, it was never something that I would even fathom that I would own a house. Like literally, like me thinking right now that I'm
Like,
gonna.
you thought it was impossible?
No, it's not even something that came to mind.
Okay.
Like literally, like right now, if I tried
So to you, it was like, if I own a house, I get, you didn't even think about it. Like,
No, it's that crazy. Like,
nuts.
it's like literally like me thinking right now, I'm gonna walk on Mars. Like, it's so
Yeah.
out of this realm of possibility
out of
that, you know,
reach.
it doesn't even come to mind. Like, I never even thought about it, and it wasn't even something like, oh, I wish I could own a house someday. No, it was like, it wasn't even like a reality. It's not even worth thinking about.
Yeah.
And then I told my mom, I was like, Mom, like, you know, honestly, that's how I grew up, and that's what I thought. And now look, I own a handful of them, and you know, and I'm flipping them left and right. So I'm just like, it's just crazy how life can just turn around so quickly. But yeah, I mean, that's the reality of it. And so no, I never had that entrepreneurial mindset. Like, so that came in way late in life for me.
Okay. You were about to say another story before I asked you those questions. So you witnessed a murder.
Oh yeah, so I witnessed the shooting, and my brothers and sister were there too. They saw the whole thing, and you know, don't talk. You know, when that kind of stuff happens, you know, you don't talk to the cops. You just mind your business and hope for the best. And so so that happened. You know, there was a stabbing, countless fights, robberies, like all sorts of stuff. I mean, it's just all over the place. And
so it was just normal.
Super normal. But, you know, as rough as that was, I am very grateful that I grew up in such a rough environment because I feel like for me, it helped me really be able to become an adult that's able to not be afraid of conflict. Like, I'm not saying like I'm a hothead and I want to go fight people all the time, but like, I'm not, afraid to get into conflict. I feel like, living in the Midwest, people avoid conflict at all costs. And so it's a little tough for me sometimes because I want to push people. I'm like, dude, like, don't let them treat you that way, or
Exactly.
And I hear a lot of people like, oh, I don't want to start problems. Like, you're not starting the problem. They are. You're going to stop the problem. You know. And so like,
well, and you know what's funny about that, bro? Two things. Like, that's literally. I feel like, so I witnessed stuff like that, like in California, right? And coming here, it was like a whole, I feel like if I would have done the stuff I did here in Nebraska, I would not be here. Do you get what I'm saying? So, like doing the stupid stuff. And I don't want to get into detail of all the street stuff I witnessed and saw. But I feel like if I would have acted the way I did growing up, in New York or in LA, it would have been a whole different story. Like I would probably I don't know. I would have probably been deported. You get what I'm saying? 6 feet, or whatever. Like, you know what I mean? Also, you brought a good thing too with growing up like that. I think a lot of the bigger struggles too that we have with our own kids, and I'm sure you can throw that on there, is that it's like, how do you throw it in their head? Like, I wish you don't want them to see the stuff you saw, but it's like you want them to be street smart at the same time.
Yeah. So like, for me, I haven't been back to Brooklyn for a while. I still have like all my family out in that part of the country, but we used to go visit pretty often before COVID. But I took my daughter. It's just crazy, dude. Like, I want to say it was like 3 years ago was the last time I went back to Brooklyn, to that part of Brooklyn, because most of my family. To visit
family?
So that part of Brooklyn, I don't have any family that I can, that I guess I would see in East New York, but I have family that lives like in Bay Ridge. I have family that lives in Yonkers, in the Bronx.
Moved around,
yeah. So I'll go visit them, but just out of curiosity, I was like, oh, let me go see what the old hood is like. And I took my it's funny because I told my daughter about all these crazy stories, and I'm like, I'm this badass. I grew up in the hood and whatever, and look at me, I survived, and so I tell her all this stuff, and then I'm like, all right, well, we're gonna go, and I was like, stay close to me, and I tell my wife, my wife is beautiful, blonde hair, blue-eyed girl. I'm like, you do not fit in that part of Brooklyn at all. And so I'm just like, I got my like tough guy attitude on, whatever happens, I'm gonna take care of my girls, dude. And like, I saw like hipsters just like hanging out in the projects. I'm like, what is happening? Like, this is not the Brooklyn I remember. Like, it's crazy, but that's what it is now. It's been like gentrified.
Yeah.
So it's so funny because my daughter was giving me shit. She's like, this is what you remember? She was like, this was so dumb. And I was like, no, this wasn't like what it was like.
Which is good. No,
right? It's great for the community.
Funny.
But
that's so funny.
It's funny because I got a buddy that still lives out there, and he had posted something on Facebook, and he said something about like he used to. He misses the Brooklyn that tourists used to be afraid of, because it's just different now. But it's growth, and I guess the whole gentrification thing. Like, I have my opinions on it, and I'm sure everybody does, because the way these developments start happening, there's tactics that aren't exactly ethical, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But that's the reality of where things are.
Well, and you know what, bro? That's where it hits like the whole minority thing too, because it's like. Why? So we felt like we used to own that block, right?
That was
so
ours,
it's like, how come we can't really own it? You know
That's
what I mean?
That's the thing too. I tell where the houses where I focus my purchases right now is in we live in Lincoln, Nebraska. There is no hood in Lincoln, Nebraska, guys. I'm sorry to break it to you.
There's poverty though.
There's poverty, like, but there's. I mean, I guess by our standards, by my standards, I would say I should say that. So
compared.
Right. Everybody's got their own situation, but. So where I buy most of my houses is in the quote unquote hood of Lincoln. And I tell my wife, I'm like, look, like I want to buy up the hood, because I feel like, coming from the projects, even coming into when we moved to Lincoln, we had assistance, like, I don't think it was Section 8, but it was like a housing type situation too, to help us kind of get on our feet. And I remember, like, when you're looking at places, it's kind of like they look down on you because you're not able to, or you come from a different lifestyle, so you almost feel like you don't deserve to have nice things.
Yeah.
And so that is a very deep feeling that you have growing up in poverty. And so my entire concept of the houses that I buy and renovate and sell or rent, whatever the case is that I want to give these people something that is that clean. They can have clean and it's quality and that they actually have pride in.
Yeah.
Pride of ownership is huge. I think when you can either rent a property or sell a property and the people that live there have pride of ownership, it shows. And there is no reason. Obviously, I'm not going to go put granite countertops in certain places because it just doesn't make sense for that. But there's no reason I couldn't put some nice butcher block or something. So there's you know, depending on the price point that you're at, you can always do something nice. And I want people to have something they can be proud of. Yeah. And so that's always been the driving force with everything that I do with whether it's a flip or a rental.
Well, let's take it back. So what grade were you in then that you can remember from over there?
So I don't remember exactly what grade I was in.
Or how old?
I want to say I was about 7 or 8 years old when we moved to that part of Brooklyn. I know we lived in Greenpoint for some time. And then another part, I don't exactly remember what the area was called, but all my memories were from that part at least. So
7 years old. So you guys moved straight from Brooklyn to Nebraska, or did you? Okay.
Yeah.
What made you move here? How did that happen?
Yeah, so we had
it's in the middle of nowhere. You know what I mean?
It's kind of random. We had family friends, a Dominican family that one of the guys in that family was actually. So if I backtrack a little bit, my cousin, when her mom died in Nicaragua, I was about 7 or 8. It was basically around the same time we moved to Cypress Hills, but her mom had died, and so
every time you say that, I want to be like, "Yo quiero fumar more."
But we basically adopted her, and so as we got older, she started dating this guy that was in that family, and so he moved out here to start working for a company out in Nebraska, and we were such a traditional, conservative Latino family that there's no way she was gonna leave our family to go live with this guy halfway across the country. So I hated him so much at that time because I knew what he was doing. He moved out here. He knew that the cost of living was better. He knew it was so much safer, and obviously it makes sense. But I knew because he'd come back every 3 months and visit her and bring pamphlets of apartment complexes that are a third of the cost of what we're paying. And there's crime rate is crazy low. And I'm like, God damn it, dude! I know what you're doing. You're trying to move us out there,
So you didn't want to leave?
No.
You were friends.
Oh yeah, dude. I had my whole life. I loved it, and. But I knew what he was doing, and so it worked.
So it was a hate and love thing because you used to hate
it was
that.
Hate. No, it was hate. I wanted
to this
nothing.
Day, though?
No. Now.
That's what I'm saying. So it was a hate and love thing because it's you hated him, but then now you love him because of where you're
so
at.
As a father now and a husband, I totally see obviously the benefit. And it worked, man. I mean, it was maybe a couple years of that, and then my mom and dad were like, "Hey, let's go visit." And then we visited in August, and then by October we were moving. Just packed up a van and went.
2 months later.
It was fast.
Drove here.
Yeah, and and so we came here and
when you moved, obviously you said a van, so you literally left everything.
Yeah. Well, the apartment that we were living in, my brother kept it. And so really all the furniture and all that stuff stayed. So So
but literally just close.
Yeah.
Let's chase a better life in Nebraska, basically.
Yeah. And when I remember when we flew into Nebraska, we visited that first time in August. It was probably the first time I'd been on an airplane, but it was crazy that just flying over Nebraska and seeing nothing but cornfields. And I'm like, damn, dude, I'm walking into that movie Twister. What is going on? It was crazy, but I mean, that's what it was to me at least. And, I thought it was nice. It was calm and, but I was I'm
coming where you're coming from.
Right. I was this is whole.
How long were you homesick? Because I remember with me, it was it took a year. I remember being in middle school, dude, and I was wearing shorts in the winter. Literally, first of all, because my mom didn't buy me clothes. We didn't have money to buy clothes. So whatever I brought from California was what I wore. Like, did that, like, was there...
There was definitely, like, I hated my parents. I'm not gonna lie. Like, I didn't talk to my parents for, like, because they moved me. Like, I didn't want to come here. I knew I had no choice. My 2 older brothers did, and so they stayed. And then, so me and my sister did. We had no choice.
Real quick, now they're here, though.
Yes.
Okay.
So that says a lot.
Yeah,
they've been here for a while.
Which, yeah, we'll get to that, but go ahead.
But yeah, so I had no desire to be out here. I mean, I was dating some girl out there, and you know, when you're a teenager, obviously that's like the biggest thing or whatever. But
so that, like, was that like the biggest thing in your mind?
It was that,
like,
and
friends,
just like my friends, you know, like I had the same friends since, you know, however old I was when I moved to that part, and we, you know, I'm still friends with them to this day, and yeah, I mean, it's all those things. I mean, and you're in your teens, you know, like you don't want to uproot your life to go to Nebraska from Brooklyn, you know. But yeah, I mean, honestly, like I hated my parents so much that I would go to school and I would come home, not talk to them. I would lock myself in my room. My brother, actually, he bought me a guitar before we left Brooklyn because he straight up said, "You're not going to have shit to do out there. Learn to play the guitar. Do something with your life," you know? And I'm like, all right. And I took it, you know, I took it and I actually got really good at it. And I've always been into drawing, and I don't do it so much anymore, but I would come home from school and, you know, do my homework and draw and play the guitar. And like that, I did that for like a year and a half, maybe. And
so to answer that question, how long do you think it took you for you to fully be like, okay, I could be here?
When I met my
like homesick, just homesick. Well, I mean, maybe not like, okay, I'm cool here, but like where you kind of, you didn't feel homesick anymore. Like I said, with me, it was like a year and a half.
Maybe about a year and a half, I would say.
Okay, so about the same. Okay,
right. It took a while, but you know, we have always pre-COVID, we were pretty good about going back to visit all the time. So I get my fill of family and stuff. Yeah. A lot of it was family too. Like I grew up, you know, being Latino, like we grew up with cousins and tios and tias, and I miss the hell out of them, you know, even to this day. Yeah. And I try to get them to come out here, but they want they want nothing to do in Nebraska. So
bro, and that's what's funny is like, honestly, bro, like would you say now living here, like, do you like it? Like,
I love it.
I love it.
I went, okay, so I went from,
when you go back, bro, it's like, I go back to California and I like the traffic, like the traffic we get here, it's like you hate it like while you're here, you know, you're doing your daily, but when you leave and come back, it's like, oh my God, I'll wait my 25 minutes.
Yeah, it's not a big deal here at all. But yeah, I mean, I just kind of like, I think there's always something that kind of, my heart has always kind of been there, and a lot of it because of my family.
For sure.
But you know, I've gotten used to it now. As like I said, as a dad and a husband, I totally see why my parents did what they did, and they made the right decision. Mm-hmm. And I went from, you know, living in Brooklyn to living in a small city of Lincoln, Nebraska, and now, you know, my wife and I, we bought an acreage out in the country. Like I straight up live in the country, and we've been out there
like
for
the whole opposite of
complete opposite. And it was the amount of darkness and silence in the country scared the shit out of me when we moved. Like it was the craziest thing. Yeah. Like I could not, and my wife just thought it was nuts. I'm like, what? Like you can see the stars? Like what? This is nuts. But why? What? You know, it's just, you know, it's just such a crazy adjustment. Now, you know, I want to say it's been about a year and a half later. I'm like, I love it, man. Like every day, I'm just like, you know, when we were kids, we used to go camping in Bear Mountain, upstate New York, like 3 times a year, like usually in the summer between spring and then fall. Yeah. And, you know, it's crazy because I wake up now and I hear like bird noises and I hear insects and all whatever. And I remember, if I think back as a kid, like I didn't hear those things at all in the city. Yeah. Like, there's nothing like that. Yeah. And then, but I would hear them when I'd go camping. And so there's sometimes like I can close my eyes and I can go back in time. And it's like, because to me, like those camping trips were like the best parts of my childhood. And so like if I close my eyes, I can almost go back in time and remember those things. But to me, honestly, I feel like it's a blessing that we were able to have the lifestyle that we have now. Yeah. Where my wife is, and I guess the term is crunchy, where you're like very earthy and all about like, you know,
like the whole opposite of how you grew
right.
up.
And she's like, you know, I want to have a garden, I want to have a greenhouse, and I want to have, you know, wind power, and so I'm like, yeah, I'm down with all that, you know. And so it's kind of crazy how I have my lifestyle is completely different now.
Well, and it's funny, bro, when you grow up, it's crazy how, and I think it's just where we come from, like the poverty and all that. It's like, it's crazy how the stuff you used to laugh at people back, because I can guarantee you when you were younger, you probably would laugh at somebody like that,
Oh, yeah.
right?
Oh,
and,
yeah.
and now it's like, no, like your wife has a big point. Like,
Oh, no, totally.
like that. Now it's like peaceful, and it's funny because even with like, real quick, like with my music, like, man, like I do whatever I want with my hair. Do you get what I'm saying? And the reason why I'm bringing that up is because before growth for me, I was kind of like, oh, why would you do that? You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Or why would you do that? But now it's like, no, that's freedom. Like I do it because I can. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like this whole like where you're coming from to where you're at. It's like the stuff you used to not like. It's probably what's like the best thing for you now.
Right.
You know what
And
I
it's
mean?
actually what's led me like to the spot where I'm at now in owning business and doing what I'm doing with real estate investing. The change in my mindset has been, tremendous. And a lot of it has to do with the environment that I'm in now.
Exactly.
Like you change your environment, you change your mindset. And
Actually, it goes back to how we started the show. Like you get to somewhere where it's uncomfortable.
yeah, that's exactly what it was. But yeah, so that's where we're at right now.
Okay, so so you got to Nebraska. What do you remember from Nebraska? Like, okay, and this is even after you used to hate that your parents brought you here. Like, once you started getting comfortable with Nebraska, like, what happened from there? Like,
Yeah, so in high school,
because you were still a kid, obviously.
yeah, I was still a kid. Yeah, and so
teen.
in high school, I met my ex-wife.
Okay.
And she and I hit it off right away, and we got married very young. I think I was like 19, maybe
Okay.
just turned 20.
Right after high school, basically.
Yeah. So the path.
What high school did you go to?
Lincoln High.
Okay.
Yeah.
God.
And so I love Lincoln High.
God.
So
I went to summer school there, actually. With, like the story I told you,
Yeah,
the air conditioner wasn't working when I went to summer school there, and it like just like hit the hammer. Anyways, go ahead.
Yeah. So I met my ex-wife there, and we got married pretty young. We actually bought our first house
Together?
Together, yeah. Around
How old?
I want to say I was like 21.
Nice.
Maybe
Okay.
somewhere in that area.
Nice.
But that went down in flames. Like she's the ex-wife, and so yeah. I mean, we were married for about 5 years, and we had actually decided to separate. My daughter at that point was about 2 years old, and
What age you say?
I was 25.
Okay.
And my daughter was 2,
Okay.
and so we separated, and I kind of feel like that was what set me on the trajectory indirectly to where I'm at right now. Because I love to cook.
Okay.
I don't really have hobbies. I don't have time for hobbies right now. But if I were to say I have a hobby, it's cooking.
Okay.
And so when my wife kept the house, or my ex-wife kept the house, and I moved in with a friend, and I told her, I was like, all right, she actually, we actually decided we were going to get divorced, and she's just like, well, what do you want? How are we going to split things up? And I was like, honestly, all I want is joint custody of my daughter and my pots and pans. Like, that's all I wanted. It was like, at the time, I was like, dude, I spent pretty good money on, and I was like, and she didn't really cook. So I was like, well, I mean, I love to cook. I just keep the two things that I love, And so I left with my clothes on my back, and, and she had agreed to give me joint custody of my daughter. Mm-hmm. And so I had to start, all over.
Yeah.
And, I was telling someone else the other day this story. Actually, it might have even been my daughter or something, but like, I went through a really dark period at that time.
After the divorce?
After the divorce,
Okay.
Yeah. I was going through a really dark time, and I had really dark thoughts. And, my daughter was really the only thing that kept me going, and my motivator at that point. And it just kind of goes to show you what I'm about to say, how my poor man or poor dad mentality was still in place at that time. Because I think...
elaborate on that.
Yeah, so I want to say it was May of that year that we had separated. And then I think by June, like, the divorce was like, okay, now it's from a separation to a divorce, right? And I ended up having to move back in with my parents and, living in their basement. I was working at a place at that time, and I ended up getting fired. And so I got fired from that job. I'm getting divorced. I'm living back in my parents' basement. Like things were rough, you know. But I remember, I think before we had separated, I had just financed a like Chrysler 300. And that car back in there was like a gangster car. I mean, they're still nice ass cars.
It was like, the fake, what was
the
it?
Fake Bentley.
Yeah, like Bentley.
But yeah, and mind you, what I bought was like the base model.
It was like box, bro.
Yeah,
like,
I mean, but to me, like that was, dude, like I was giving off this impression of what I wasn't, you know. But I remember thinking
that's a whole episode.
But here's one thing though, like I remember thinking one day, like, okay, you know, essentially, you know, my wife's leaving me. I'm living back at home with my parents. I just lost my job. Like I am worthless, you know. But you know, obviously I still had my daughter. And so I was like, and I was thinking, at least I still have my car. And how stupid is that? Now when I think back, you know, like how stupid is that? I think that's what gives me comfort, you know.
Which is cool though. It
gave me comfort.
It's the only good thing, you know,
right?
Because car payments, guys, man, that's the worst. Like,
yeah, and I was paying a good amount. Like I don't even know how I made. Like when I think back,
like I mean, you probably that's all you lived for. Like if you think about it,
I mean, no, my daughter was all I lived for, but like,
or no, I'm saying, or I shouldn't say live for. That's all you worked for. Like your job.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. Yeah,
most of your money, I guarantee you, was probably going towards that.
Oh yeah, huge. I mean, at that time, I didn't have a job.
I bought rims with a credit card, bro, for like $2,500.
Horrible.
And I just sold them for $200 on Facebook, which is still fucking good, but that just shows you like that
it doesn't
the
make
cars
sense.
are. So it's one of those things, and you were just saying that earlier too, how. Basically buy something that will pay for your wants.
Right.
You were saying that.
Yeah, that's
earlier.
Me now.
No, I know, but it, you know, it's a good thing to bring
keep in
bring
mind.
up right now. You
Yeah.
know, those of you listening that you know, with the whole car thing, and don't get me wrong. Now, for example, I have a truck, but guess what? It's a nice truck, but it's paid for by my construction company.
Right.
My Benz. Not a lot of people know, like. With you know, me selling CDs and shirts and all that, that's how I bought my Benz, you know, which is and basically, but I learned from a Honda Civic. You know, when I was 18, I bought my Honda Civic, which was everything, like you said, with your car. And it's like, after paying for it for 5 years, dude, it taught me a whole life lesson, and thank God it happened, because now it's like I already know how I'm gonna buy a car, you know, and I love cars, dude. Like I'm a car, like I said, I used to buy stuff on my credit card. Like all my 20s I spent paying my credit card off because I was buying dumb stuff like rims.
Right. Well, you know what's funny though? What happened is, you know, with me having that mindset with, at least I have this car. The very next day that I had that thought, I T-boned the lady that ran a stop sign, and she, you know, thank God my daughter was in the car, and you know, we were both good, but. This lady ran a stop sign and just completely wrecked my car, you know? And so I remember like just holding it together. I mean, I kind of passed out because the airbags deployed, and I remember passing out, and then I wake up and it's kind of just like, it's like my sound, like, or my hearing like came back slowly. And I just like, I'm not hearing things. I'm looking around, like seeing what's going, there's powder everywhere. Yeah. And I look back and backseat, my daughter's like crying, and she's screaming, but I can't hear her.
Yeah.
And so my ears were just kind of ringing, and then slowly my hearing came back, and ambulance, you know, was called, and so we were in the hospital, and then, you know, my ex-wife came to see, you know, how we were doing, obviously, and I remember, I just broke down, like, because that was it. I was like, that was the last thing I had.
It was like your point. That was okay, I'm done.
Yeah,
like,
you know what what my dumbass did after that? So I had the insurance payout, and I went and I bought a more expensive car after that.
Which is fine, right? Like well, I'm saying, like, at that point, like, you didn't know any better. Like, you thought that was it, right? Okay, so actually, great, you know. Okay, so you bought that car with the money. Mm-hmm. What happens after that? So
it was this crazy, it was like an Infinity G coupe thing. Like, it was a sexy car, I'm not gonna lie. But like, I had no business having this car. Mm-hmm. And my daughter's car seat barely fit in the back. It was so stupid, like, when I think back now, you know. But it was like me trying to give off this persona.
No, but that's what I'm saying, bro. Like, it's a good, like, for our listeners to learn, like, cars are the worst investment. It's one of those things where once you get to a certain point financially, you know, that's when you should, like I said, nowadays, like, it's funny, like, my wife doesn't even question me. Like, I got my rims, you know what I mean? And it's because, like, I have investments now that do that for me. I actually, real quick, man, shout out to DJ Envy, because you know what he does? And this dude has rides, man. Like
he's a
I
car
can't
guy,
even tell you what he has, right? But here's what's crazy. And it put this whole perspective, because I never thought of like cars being a good thing, right? Like, and keep it that way for anybody listening. But DJ Envy buys nice ass rides, but guess what? He does car shows. So he always comes up basically saying, my car shows pay for my cars. Yeah. So he said that now to the point where the wife asks him like, hey, when are you gonna buy another car? Because she knows he's making money off the car shows. So like I said, that's why I gave the example with my truck, like with construction. My goal is for construction to pay for that. You know what I mean? Right. So anyways, I'm happy you brought that up, bro, because I'm a car, like I'm telling you, I love cars, bro. Like, and I remember buying a lowrider when I, like when I was a teen, and I don't even know what happened to that car, dude. Like I ended up selling it to somebody for like $100. Yeah. To get it out of my duplex that I was living at. You know what I mean? Like it's just dumb. Like that money, if you put it into something that is gonna make you grow or make you money, like you know what I mean? Like you're just gonna change your life. Yeah. And nowadays with Uber, for example, like you buy a car, you could Uber and that Uber will pay for your car. Like there's so many ways, guys. It doesn't have to be big investments or no, you literally, you buy a car, a nice car that the payment's $500, $400, you know, and on the low end, it's a nice ride. You Uber here and there on your free time, that pays for the car.
Yeah. It's just a different mindset.
Very, you gotta change and that's what we're trying to do with this is change that mindset. Like think of it in a different way. So, all right. So you got that car again, right? So what? So you're just at your lowest point. Yeah. What were you done with your story? You said like you remember the ambulances. Like was that like a life changing event? Obviously it was, but like
it should have been because you think I would have learned my lesson. I wouldn't have bought that other car. But it's basically that car I had for a couple of years, and I actually ended up getting T-boned by. It was parked outside of my job at the time, and this dude uninsured, driving on ice, just didn't stop on time. He wrecked the car. And then my brother, like when it happened, you know, my brother's been an entrepreneur for a long time, and he like basically just like grabbed me and like shook me. He's like, why are you doing this? Like stop spending money on these stupid things. Just buy yourself a modest car, get your credit right, get your, you know, because, you know, after my divorce, I went through. You said it was
your brother?
My brother, my middle brother, yeah. And he's like, you know, he's just, and it's true, it was stupid. And so he's like, you know, get your credit right, get your debts paid off.
Were you fighting it with him, or were you kind of like, okay, I'm listening, or were you like, dude, fuck off?
At that point, I was listening
because you were like done. You're like, fuck, I'm stupid. Okay, because a lot of people,
right? No, I fought him.
A lot of people that like I've tried helping, or I'm sure you can relate to that. Like they're just like, yeah, and then they just
that's how I was because he told me to sell the car in the first place before I even got it wrecked, and I was just like, oh, you're an idiot, like this thing is.
So you were like that? Like,
I was fighting, but then when it got wrecked, I was like, okay, yeah, this is stupid. Yeah. So I ended up just basically taking the money from that insurance settlement, and I just bought myself a modest, just sedan, and I had that for
was it?
It was a 2000 Lexus ES300, and mind you, this was
modest.
No, dude,
this was Did you say Lexus?
Yeah, it was like a nice Camry.
It was just a modest, Lexus.
Dude, I paid $5,000 for this car because at that time it was 2014, and it was a 2000. It was a 14-year-old car.
Pinto or something.
No. I mean, to me, it was I had the car up until about 2 months ago.
Oh yeah.
So it took me that long.
Okay. I mean, that car was great. Like it was obviously, dude. That's so crazy. So that car basically got you to where you're at now.
Yeah, and it helped too because honestly, I realized I got to get my act together. Like after my divorce, I went through such a dark place that I stopped paying bills. I let so much go to collections, and I've worked 2 jobs ever since I was 19. I always had like a day job, and I always bartended. Okay. And so, but the thing was, my bartending money, I would just blow that on stupid things. And so, I stopped eating out. I started working out. I started doing.
Life, like you said, hit you, started hitting you, okay. And then, so would you say your brother was like a big part in that then? Or
he was, and I didn't notice it at the time.
Yeah.
But now he's like, my biggest cheerleader almost, one of them at least.
Nice.
So obviously I didn't appreciate it at the time.
Exactly.
But he definitely he should have slapped me and just be like, dude, what are you doing?
Yeah.
But yeah, there was some points in there that was so low. And in terms of financially, I moved in with my oldest brother for a while. He kind of helped me out. And then I moved back in with my parents. I was kind of bouncing around and, you know, I didn't want to have to move back to my parents and rely on them all the time. And things got...
So were you not going to school at all, like during this time?
Oh yeah. Dude, I should have been a doctor by now. I had been going to school so much, but it was just one class here and there.
So you were going to school through all this time?
Not all of it, like just on and off, like as I could.
A lot of it,
right,
like a class here and there.
Yeah.
What, college?
So I went to community college first. Actually, my first degree was in fire protection because after 9/11, I wanted to be a firefighter.
What? Oh, okay.
Yeah, and I met some really great people. That's kind of a whole different story.
Can you touch on that, bro? Because I feel like...
That's a long story.
Yeah. But can you touch on like the whole changing, like... You know, I want to do this, and then
So that's a big
because I feel like a lot of people do that.
Yeah. So
and is it fair to say that you like because you have to find your passion? Do you get what I'm saying? And
right.
I feel like,
and you know, and honestly, I feel like in a different life maybe I'll be a firefighter. It just wasn't in my cards for that time. So I actually was.
So it's definitely something you like.
Oh yeah.
Obviously.
Yeah. No, I think it's a great noble profession, or even people that don't get paid. I think it's great. Yeah. But I was about a month or two from graduating when we got divorced, and my divorce attorney was like, "Look, like, you know, for those of you who don't know, firefighters they have very crazy shifts. Essentially, you work about 14 days. You work 24 hours on, 24 hours off. You do that for about 14 days, and then you get what's called Kelly days, which is like an extra 5 days off of just complete days time off. And so since I was pursuing joint custody of my daughter, my attorney was like, look, like you're not going to get joint custody with that kind of schedule. Kids need consistency. And so she's like, you need to decide either firefighting or your daughter. And, you know, no brainer for me. I was like, it's my daughter.
Yeah.
So I was like, right, whatever. Let me finish at least. I'm already here. And so I did. I finished and I got my degree and all my certifications and everything. And I had tested just kind of see, but like nothing ever panned out. But I wasn't putting a ton of effort into it because I knew like, hey, if I get the job.
How'd you end up doing IT then?
I had been working for a company that did essentially was where you can hire outsource like customer service work, and that company got bought out by the Dell Corporation. So Dell was basically using their infrastructure along with the network that this other company had to have companies outsource their like tech support type stuff.
Okay.
And so at that point, I hadn't even been at that job anymore, but my old supervisor called me back and was like, hey, we're just looking to fill seats right now. We'll train you. And that's kind of how it just started. And it's just, I mean, God, I don't know how long ago that was, but you know, it's gone to that point now where I really did like it, and I still do like it.
Yeah.
I found a path there that I can kind of climb the ladder and get to the point now to where, you know, I run the IT stuff at my job. And so, it took a long time. And actually,
how long did you go to school for that?
I just went to school for business.
Oh,
I never went to
nice.
It's business and marketing. I never went to school for IT. Everything I know is, you know, just kind of learned on the job.
Yeah. And you know what, bro, that's what, with the whole school thing, like that's what's crazy. You know, accounting, like I didn't go to school for accounting, but I do accounting. You know what I mean? Like it's so crazy.
Some things just stick because of your personality. You know?
Yep. All right. So, IT, and that's where you're at now. So how did you end up getting into investing? Like when did that occur?
So at a previous job, I'll try to make this quick because it's kind of a long story, but at a previous job, I was working and I was running the IT operations for the US IT operations for this company. And I worked under the VP of global tech, but he lived in China. So our operations were out in China and our home office was in New York. And they had wanted to open like a service center in Lincoln. So I was their first employee, and I was charged with just building the IT infrastructure under their direction, obviously. And I'd been there for a couple of years, about a couple of years. And they ended up having people that would visit from China all the time. So we had a couple corporate apartments in downtown. And so I would manage things, you know, I'd be over there like putting furniture together and all, just kind of trying to help out. And then this, I knew we had a cleaning company that would come by, and they would do a really bad job. And so I brought it up to the lady. It was like the HR lady that managed that. I brought it up to her. I was like, hey, they're doing a really bad job. Like, and I kind of thought I saw an opportunity there. And I was like, what if like I cleaned them, you know, for some extra cash? Because I've always kind of had a side hustle type thing.
Well,
you
and
know?
you always had your second job that you said,
And so I was like, man, I can do these at nights, you know, and the nights I don't have my daughter, and I was single. I stayed single almost the entire time until I met my wife now. But she's like, yeah, that's a great idea. She's like, they are doing a bad job at cleaning. She's like, the only thing I need from you is to form like an LLC, make it like a legit business. And I'm like, okay, cool. So, you know, I ended up going out, and then me being me, man, I'm going to build a logo. I'm going to build a website. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. And I spent like $1,500 doing the LLC and getting a logo and getting cards and everything. And so it was maybe like a month later, and I go back to the lady and I'm like, hey, I'm ready. And she's like, oh yeah, I forgot to tell you, we don't want to do that anymore. I'm like,
oh shit.
Yeah. I'm like, what? And she's like, yeah, we decided it's a conflict of interest. And I was like, do you realize how much I just spent on this? You know, like,
yeah.
And so I was pissed.
Damn, I'm over here waiting for like the good ending.
But you know, like
I was balling out.
Nah, man, I was pissed, and I was like, I'm leaving. Like, there's no way. You know, I was like, you straight up just told me like you don't. You know, because the way they thought about it was like, oh, you know, if something goes bad with one of the apartments, and like I get that, but you know, this company was also really big on nepotism. And so they had like, you know, this VP had her daughter working here, and this guy had, okay. So, you know, they were big on nepotism, and I was like, you know, really, that's how is that a conflict of interest when you have all this other stuff going on? So, but in the meantime, as I was like studying owning your own cleaning business, Rich Dad Poor Dad somehow kind of got thrown in my path. And then
how? Like,
I don't remember how or what. I mean, I want to say it was a podcast or something, but the book somehow just like,
were you searching something?
I must have been searching like how to own a business or something. I have no idea, to be honest.
Like the podcast popped out, you said?
No, the podcast was after the book. I remember reading, somehow I got the book, and I don't remember how
physically?
It was. Yeah, the physical book.
Okay.
And I read it. And then, you know,
like you ordered it, like, dude, I want to know.
I think I went to Barnes and Noble, and I don't know, man. Honestly, I don't remember.
I feel like that's like very like important. Like,
I have a horrible memory. I don't know, but I lose a lot of those details. I don't know. Yeah. My wife always gets mad at me, but yeah, at some point, whatever. I read the book, and I was like, dude, it clicked. It was life changing, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to get a better paying job, because at this point I was running the IT operations for the U.S. for this company, and I was like. And I had been asking for a raise and a promotion. I had people working under me at this point. You know, my boss was still in China, and I was doing everything. Mm-hmm. And they were like, all right, well, when you go and finish school, your bachelor's, at this point, I was back in school for business and working on my bachelor's. It's like, when you do that, then we can talk about it. And, you know, I graduated. And that next Monday, I'm like, all right, I did it. And then it was like, okay, but do this now. And then I do it. And okay, but do this now.
So it was like nonstop.
So they kept moving that carrot on me, and I had enough. And, you know, I ended up just getting another job, you know, where I'm at now, where I am running it, you know, as...
like they gave you the opportunity that you were looking for.
Exactly.
Okay, so you read that book, like... It sounds like you took action right away from that book.
I did, not necessarily in real estate right away.
Okay.
But the seed was planted in my head.
Yeah.
At that point, like.
So what was your first like business thing that you did?
So it was kind of like so I have the video production business and the real estate investing.
How did the video came about? Like,
so the video thing came about because at one of my old jobs I had to travel all the time, and it was an IT thing, and all the guys at that job, they didn't want to go to like the big cities. They wanted all the small town trips. And I'm like, good, because I want the big cities.
Yeah.
And so I'd be, you know, Minneapolis, Philadelphia, Chicago, whatever, LA. And so I had this habit, mind you, coming from Brooklyn and coming from like a rough part of Brooklyn, I had like no fear going out at night. Like I'd go, you know, have dinner on my own and just wander the city because I love big cities. And so this one night I was in Philadelphia, and I was like, God, this is a beautiful city. And
traveling from your job?
Yeah, it was work travel, yeah. All these were work. And then I realized, like, man, this is an awesome city. I think I'm going to buy a camera and just like document my trips, you know? And so I bought a camera, and I learned how to, you know, YouTube University, and I learned how to use a DSLR.
That's fucking awesome.
And I started documenting.
We took that shot earlier for YouTube.
And so I ended up just learning how to use the camera, and I did it as a photography, as a hobby. And so when my wife and I got married, we had one of those wedding love stories that you play at the reception that shows, you know, how you met, whatever. And so her aunt and uncle, they were having their 50th anniversary a couple of years ago, and they approached me like, hey, would you be able to do one of those for us? Which I don't know why, like, because photography and video are completely different. Like it's a different animal.
Well, and I think you told me at one time you don't really like photography.
I don't like not at professional.
And
like,
you know
I don't
what, bro?
do
Like I'm borderline that. Like I love art but I'd rather shoot a video than photography. And but like I said, I'll take pictures.
I can appreciate photography, but I don't want to do it myself.
I've done senior pictures, you know, but.
So I don't know. For some reason, they thought that would translate, and I thought it was a fun idea. And then again, me being me, I went out and I spent a ton of money. I bought a drone. I bought a nicer camera. I bought all this stuff.
All right, so here, real quick, bro, and I've been wanting to tell you this shit, and I think I kind of mentioned it, but here's what I love about you, bro, is that so when me and Dan met, I fucking said, yeah, bro, you know, I'm looking forward to. I want to do a podcast, you know, blah blah blah. Tell me why a week later, this motherfucker had like a whole logo and shit, which I love, bro. So with me, I'll be straight honest with you. And I told you, I don't know. And if I didn't, I'm telling you now, but, and this serves to everybody listening that if you want like a mentor, or obviously me and you are on, you know, our levels of thinking are, I would say, right there, right? But those of you who are starting out with stuff, if you're looking for like a mentor, somebody to help you out, this is what you do. So here's the thing. I swear to God, bro, all my endeavors that I've done business-wise, I feel like it's been me. Like
doing all the work?
Doing all the work, bro. Literally all the work. Which is fine, right? Like it got me where I'm at, whatever. But this is what I love is that this dude, like, I brought the idea and all of a sudden you had this, you had that. So it literally just like happened. And I love that because, like I said, anybody out there listening to looking for mentors or to do something, that's what you do. It's like, here's what I bring to the table. And then it's like, here's what you bring to the table. So the table now it's like full. So guess what? All you motherfuckers can eat. But a lot of motherfuckers are just looking for that I. You get what I'm saying? And it's like, no, you bring something to the fucking table. And I think that literally, bro, like I've said this to a few of my people already. Like, no, like you brought this, I brought that, and like here we are. You get what I'm saying? Like it's amazing. That. And thank you for that, bro.
Yeah,
like for
man,
real.
For sure, man. Like I said, I think when I truly believe in something, I'll put the resources into it, the effort, the money, whatever it costs. But that's what I did with that, you know. And when you know, it was the craziest feeling. You know, I did this love story for them, and you know, obviously it wasn't the same as like a newlywed couple. It was 50 years worth of stories and stuff, and so I had to condense it. You know, so we did a interview with each of them separately, then together, and then we had like cute B-roll of them doing stuff. You know, and they had like their nephew has like a custom motorcycle shop, and so he gave it to them so they can use it. I mean, there was like 50 people, maybe more, I don't know, at this party, and dude, I was so nervous that I was going to present this video that I did for them. And it was maybe like, I want to say it was like 15 minutes long. And, you know, the lights were off, the video was playing, and the lights came on, and people were like crying, and they were so emotional. And
so it like hit you.
It hit me. I'm like, dude, like that's crazy that I can invoke people. That kind of emotion in someone because of their story. And I was like, and I loved it. And I was hooked. Yeah. And, so I've been doing that, you know, ever since then. And
have you ever done? So you like, can you tell us what kind of projects you've done with that? Like,
it's mostly been like wedding, love story. I got into the real estate circle of investors here through that.
So would you say that video edit or video, like your company with the video, was the one that got you in the door with some investors?
So I've got a funny story about that. So So they're my wife's.
And hold on, real quick. And that's what I meant earlier. Like that's the perfect. Like hey, I'm bringing this to the table. Right. You know what I mean? But go ahead.
So my wife's cousin's husband is a real estate investor, but he invests very passively. And he kind of just got the guy that brings the deals in. And so I had been reading Rich Dad Poor Dad. At this point, I had started listening to Bigger Pockets. I definitely had an interest in real estate investing. I just didn't know how to get started. And so at like a Christmas or something, I heard him talking about 1035 exchanges, which for those of you who don't know, 1035 exchanges is a real estate strategy that you can do to defer taxes. We can get into that later on, but it's a strategy that you can use in real estate investing. And I remember
generational wealth in a way too.
And I remember hearing about it. And then he was talking about it. And so I brought, and I think I said like 1039 exchanges. And he's like, no, 1035. I felt like a dumbass, but whatever, you know? And so I had messaged him later on. I was like, hey man, like I'm really trying to get into this. And I thought he was more active than he is. Because I knew I would be more hands-on. And so I asked, hey, can I take you out to lunch and just kind of see, essentially I wanted a mentor. And I took him out to lunch, but he ended up paying. He wouldn't let me pay, which just shows how cool and humble he is. But he told me, he's like, when we're done with lunch, he's like, just pay it forward next time, for someone that wants to mentor you. But essentially through the meeting with him, he was able to confirm for me that he wasn't the right mentor for me because he's so far out of like the hands-on stuff. But he's like, but he knew he couldn't help me directly, but he's like, you know what? I know a couple guys that could help you. So he gave me a couple contacts, and through that, I got a contact that got me into this Facebook group that's big here, that hosts meetups.
So would it be, so basically but I want to know, how did the video like relate to that?
Yeah, I'm getting there.
Okay. Because sorry.
So
I sort of like,
no, it's getting there. So he got me connected with this group, right? Mm-hmm. And so this group has one of the guys that I hope we'll have on the show here soon. Yeah. He hosts a meetup at a bar here, and it's like 80 people every time. Mm-hmm. It's a bunch of people, and so I would, I joined this Facebook group, and I would go. From time to time, I'd go to these meetups there once every month, mm-hmm. and I would, I'd just be a fly on the wall. Like, honestly, I would not pay, like, I wouldn't talk to anyone, but I knew, like, okay, I just want to see what's going on here. I did that for months, and then I was like, okay, I think I'm ready to do something, And I'm pretty handy. Like, I love working with my hands and doing anything with houses and stuff. And so,
working with my hands.
I'm gonna edit that out. But no, so I ended up basically what I did, I was like, I messaged who I thought were like the big hitters in this group, or and I was like, hey, if you need any help, I can help you out. I can do whatever you need. I just kind of want to follow you around, basically. Mm-hmm. Nobody responded, and I had listened to, I think it was a Bigger Pockets podcast where they started talking about that, how these newbies want to start and they offer this free help, which is great. But you also got to think, anybody that's worth mentoring under, they already have systems in place. They have people in place. Mm-hmm. So if anything, I'd be slowing them down. Yeah. So they were like, if you're going to do something that brings them value.
So what did you bring?
So the video thing. Okay. And so, right, like maybe a week before that, there's a couple guys that had posted some, tutorial type videos of just explaining different real estate investing terminology and strategies, whatever. And I just realized.
When was this? How long ago?
This was March. What are we in 2021? This was March of 2019.
So 2 years ago.
So yeah, about a little over 2 years ago.
Okay.
And so I had noticed that these guys.
That's awesome, bro. So you haven't even been that long.
No, I'm still a newbie.
That's awesome, bro.
I shouldn't be doing this podcast.
No. I love it.
But
and you've done a lot already. But
yeah, and so
go ahead.
They were doing this. The content of the video that they were putting out was gold, but the actual composition and the way it was put together was honestly, it was just crap. Like, it was like grainy video footage. The audio was crap. Mm-hmm. They were using a whiteboard that, in video production, you never use a whiteboard because it doesn't show through on the video. And at this point I had been doing some video stuff. And so I was like, boom, like it hit. That's where I bring value. And so I posted on this group. I was like, hey guys, I do video production. I was like, let me give you a good example of a good social media video on a tutorial versus a bad one. And so I put 2 different YouTube links on different types of videos.
That's so awesome. If you guys haven't watched Gota, Billy the Kid Gota, you did an intro for me, and it was like random, right? Like, he literally, this dude literally sends me a random intro, but that's why that's literally, bro, like cheers to that, man. That's what I love about you, bro. Like, he literally sends me this intro, and I'll tell you what, I've, like, me being an artist, like, I get emails, calls, text messages. I meet people all the time that are like, oh, I want to do this, I want to do that. Matter of fact, my neighbor, perfect example, he makes beats, and he's always like, hey, I make beats. And to me, it was kind of like, oh, yeah, cool, dude. Yeah, like, I hear that all the damn time, you know what I mean? Yeah. Dude, now he's produced 10 songs, or whatever many, because of the consistency, because he brought the beats to me. Like, no, look, bro, listen to it. Like, do you get what I'm saying? And that's what you do, bro. And that's what I love about you. And that's what I said. This whole podcast was literally because you brought that side, I brought my side, and we, like here we are. So it just sounds like that's what you did with what with the story that you're saying right now, which is amazing. So all you youngsters out there or people that are starting out, you have to bring something to the table that you want to eat off of.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So I was like, look, this is something I can do. I know I can do this. And so I put it on this group. I was like, if you guys, want any sort of work, I will do it for free, but I am asking for mentorship in like an hour. I had like 30 people in my inbox, just like, yeah, I want to, and then from that, there was maybe like 10 meetings. And from that, there was, maybe 3 solid actual contacts.
Like started the funnel.
The two, yes. And the two biggest, what I consider biggest investors in the area, kind of took me under their wing. And they're, till this day, are, financing my deals. They're mentoring me. If I need help walking through a house, they come with me. Like, these guys are awesome.
So what was your first deal?
So my first deal, so basically like one thing that they told me to do was, not to just try to do a shotgun approach, try to focus on what I want to focus on. And so I used like my technology background to basically find a way to create a tighter funnel and a easier way of really picking out the best deals. And so what I ended up doing is I worked with the county office on pre-foreclosures. So for those of you that don't know what happens if you have a mortgage and you default on it, you stop paying for about 5-6 months. At that point, the bank sends the county a letter saying, hey, Billy hasn't paid his mortgage in 6 months. He hasn't paid his mortgage in 6 months. We're gonna start the foreclosure process. So they send that letter to the county, and the county has to document that. It's public knowledge. So basically, I found a way to write a script that is able to find that information, find the keywords, and it puts it on a spreadsheet for me. And then when I take that spreadsheet, I take that information, I cross-reference it.
Which is huge for an investor.
And so I cross-reference, data is humongous.
Yeah.
So I cross-reference that information. I find out who the owner is, when they bought it. About
how come you haven't shown me this list, bro? What's up? Jesus.
It's a secret.
He's like, wait till episode 30.
Well, so no, but actually, because of COVID, that dried up. There's no more foreclosures.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So I've had to find more creative ways.
So soon, it's probably going to be exploding.
It's going to blow. And I feel horrible.
I know.
Being excited for that. But I mean, it's just kind of like, okay, that's lead. But you know what? I will say, I'm going to fast forward through a lot of that stuff because the first deal, most of my deals have been pre-foreclosures. And I have had people approach me before and be like, dude, you're a shark, you're a predator. Why are you doing this to people? And I'm like, no, that's not how it is.
You're helping them.
And that's the thing is like, when I got divorced, we went through a foreclosure.
Exactly.
We went through a foreclosure. I wish I would have known.
I was just going to say, you wish you would have met me.
Someone would have bought my house.
But for real though.
Because it would have saved me years of heartache and years of trying to get my credit back up, So the thing is like, I've never met a single person in all the pre-foreclosures I've bought. I've never met a single person that has had their house foreclosed on because they're just lazy and don't want to pay. It's never that.
Yeah.
It's always, a death in the family, a divorce.
You come in as a hero, essentially.
And I don't want to say I'm a hero, but I'm just like,
but I think you are, bro. Like you come in saying, hey, you know what? I'll take, like, this is one less headache.
Yeah. And
that you have to deal with.
I'm a problem solver. I'm not a real estate investor.
You kind of have to, bro. Like with real estate, you have to be a problem solver.
And I'll tell you one quick story, because I know we're getting tight on time, but wrap
it up, bro.
The most impactful one that I've had is a guy that was in a pre-foreclosure, and I reached out to him. I'm like, hey man, like, he was just all for it. He's like, come look at the house, tell me what you can get for me for it. And the house was gorgeous. It was in a perfect part of town, and he wanted nothing but what he owed on it. Like he wanted to the penny what he owed on it. And I'm like, you don't want to make money? Like I'm good with giving you money. Like you should make money on this. And he's like, no, man, like I just want out of this house. And I'm like, hey, if you don't mind me asking, like what happened? Why are you? And, the dude has been working for the prison system here for years, and he would have to travel from time to time. I don't think I ever told you the story.
No.
But this guy had to leave. He had to leave town. It was supposed to be like a Monday through Friday trip, and it ended up getting cut short. And so he came back on Thursday. And I think you know where this is going, but he came back on Thursday, he got home, and he straight up caught his girl, like, in the act, cheating on him. Like, there must have been like,
and that's what I'm saying, bro. It's like real life.
Oh my god, yeah. There's so much that happens. Yeah. So he walked in on it. He didn't really know what to do.
That's like my worst thing.
Oh my god,
I'd rather find out.
Yeah, no.
Because I'll probably just like
the thing
kill
is, like,
somebody.
they didn't know that he had seen it.
Probably not my, like, I'll probably, never mind.
But then the thing is, like, they didn't know that he saw what was happening.
Yeah.
So he just
That's
straight
sad,
up, like,
man.
left. He left. He didn't let them know that he was there. He left and let them do their business.
Yeah.
And later on that night, he called his girl and was like, hey, this is what I saw, you know? And so she ended up leaving and he basically didn't see her again.
Yeah.
But he told me straight up, man, he's like, look, man, like, I have a rifle in my gun at all times, or in my truck at all times. And had I not been working for the prison system for so long, I would have shot them both.
Yeah,
He's like,
yeah.
but I know what prison life is like, and I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
And he's like, and I'm like, dude, I don't. And, you know, honestly, like, that house was left so quickly that there was still food in the fridge. It was a brand new French door, stainless steel fridge.
Like you cooked with your pans that you moved from.
No, dude, like, no, I'm like, they left everything in the house. Like, I don't know if she was embarrassed, or whatever. I think she took his dog.
No,
too.
but that's the stuff that happen every day, and that people don't know. Like, that things happen every day, and that's where you find those deals. And you, like I said, you are a hero because when you're in that situation, like you literally you're taking one weight off their shoulder, you know, out of the 10 that they're dealing with.
So I'll go over the numbers on this deal just so that you guys can see like the power of this. I offered the guy more money. He's like, no, just sell it. You know, just buy
real
it
quick. Sometimes, you know, with offering money, like, a lot of people will be like, you know what, I need 1,000 so I can fly from Omaha, whatever, to whatever city they have to go to now because of their life, you know, changing. Yeah.
But he
so that's crazy. So he didn't even want money.
Yeah. And so I'm like, all right, dude, I'll buy it from you for whatever you, and I so this is where I brought in another investor basically to bring in the cash, and he brought the cash, and we bought the place for 133 and some change. And the deal was, he brings in the cash, he buys it, and I do the work to just, it was really just cosmetic stuff to update it. I ended up putting 7 weeks worth of my work. Mind you, I was writing my W-2 job, and then at night I'd go work on it, and then on the weekends I'd work. So how'd
you even become like a handyman? Like,
that was just from like just trying things. Like, I did a lot of work for my parents' houses. I had a friend that was a home remodeler in high school, and I'd work with him on the week.
So you already had that under your belt too.
Yeah,
like, not an expert, but
I wasn't an expert. I had the confidence, and I could do it. And then YouTube is huge, dude. That has helped me so much.
To YouTube.
Shout out to YouTube. But yeah, I mean, it showed me a lot of stuff, and so
can we take a shot for YouTube for real, bro? Because I swear to God, bro, YouTube, man, that's a whole
we're gonna
other.
take a shot. So while he pours those, I'll finish the story. So we ended up buying the house for 133. I had to do it was 7 weeks worth of work, and I put in, I want to say it was like $3,500 worth of materials on my credit card. And mind you, you know, I was gonna get that paid back. All right, salud.
Jesus, I don't want another shot. Give it to me. Give it to me, bro. Salud, bro. Hey, this is for you too, though, for real.
So I put in, you know, $3,500 worth of work, 7 weeks. And
just you working, not
me working. No,
okay,
I mean, I had a plumber do some work, but that was it.
Okay,
and
but
then
3,500 is what you added.
That's what I added, but that wasn't my money. It was credit. I mean, it wasn't really my money, but
no. But my question is, was it physical work, labor, or was it material? 3,500.
No, I did the work and I did the labor. Or, I mean, I brought in the materials, and I was super cheap, dude. No, I mean, I brought in. It was 3,500 because it was like a fence I had to build, and I had some backsplash, some paint, carpet cleaning, like just I'm $3,500. It went super far.
Oh yeah.
So at this point we're in, let's say 136.
So 133 you said?
Yeah, so 136 and a half.
Plus 35.
And we listed it.
Hold on. You got it for 130 plus 35?
No, 133
plus the 35. Okay.
Plus 3,500. So we're into it for 136 and a half. And mind you, all I put into it is that money and then the 7 weeks worth of work. And then, you know, my investor, he'd come by and check in on me because he's super handy too. So
what did it sold for?
We listed it, and within less than 1 day, we had an offer we listed it for 170, and we had an offer for 175.
Nice.
Within a day. Dude, like, I was like, I am hooked. That's awesome, like, that was my first flip.
So that was like a whole life changing event.
I mean, it wasn't, the money wasn't life changing, but like the the experience
and the money. Like you have to admit, like the money was kind of like, holy crap.
Like it's crazy. It just shows how powerful that is.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So yeah, that's where I got hooked.
And that was with the guy that you said you met through after the first meeting, which is amazing. And like I said, you bring something to the table. Now you're eating. You get what I'm saying?
Right.
So where are you at now? Like
so now, because the market is as hot as it is, I've focused on flips.
Yeah.
Really, that's really all I'm doing. I have the one rental that I kept was the very first one.
How many deals have you done, real quick?
In the last 2 years, I'm on my 8th.
In 2 years since you started.
Yeah. But man, I mean, that's really that's not amazing, I don't think like it's that much.
No, that's amazing.
When I break it down, considering I have a family, I have a W-2 job, I have another business.
That's what I'm saying. That's amazing.
And it's good.
And all of them have been flips.
Except for the first one, but I kept it as a rental.
So how many rentals do you have?
Just the one that I kept.
The one. Yeah. Okay.
I've had intentions for every.
So 7 of them have been flips.
Yeah, and every time I get them, I'm like, oh, I'm gonna keep this. I'm gonna rent it out.
Right.
But then I'm like, oh my god, I could sell this and make a lot of money on it. And so I'm at the stage now where I'm just flipping them just to gain the capital.
Is that where you want to stay?
No. Okay. I want to keep them. I think after
what changed that.
Just kind of like the mindset of having something, a legacy to leave behind. Because yes, the flips are fun, they're a lot of good money, but the taxes on them are no fun.
Mm-hmm. Well, and it's active, so active. That's the thing that I want to throw out there for anybody listening. Doing flips is active work, which technically you have a job. With rentals, like it is a job, right? Like, even if you get a management company, you still have to deal with that management company calling you and, active, there's a difference between active income and passive income. The rentals, the investing for rentals. And then, like you said, you leave that to your kids, you leave that for your grandkids. Like it's amazing, what that can do. So, so you said now your mind is changing a little bit from flips to keeping.
Yeah.
So right now, how many flips are you handling right now?
I've got 2 going right now. I'm working on a 3rd. I'm trying to get locked down.
Okay.
This one's a little different. There's some estate planning and such that I need to work with an attorney on. But every deal is something. Stuff. Yeah, legal stuff. Every deal you
learn from. So where are you going with everything now?
I have just decided to transition from doing a lot of the work myself because it's great to save money and I love working with my hands, but I realize how it's inefficient. It's very inefficient for this type of business. That's what she said. So right now, what I'm doing is I'm trying to contract out most of the work and
like growth.
Yeah, growth. I'd like to have more than a handful going at a time. I think at my most I had 4 going at once. And so,
can I say one more time? That's what she said. Sorry, I just had to. All right, I like to have more than 4 going at this. Sorry, bro.
So I ended up. Yeah. So basically, my goal right now, my next goal would be to get out of the day-to-day work for it. Because for me, I'm confident enough on the deals, and I don't need to do all the work. It's just an inefficient way of doing it. And it's great for when you're starting out.
Yeah.
But now, I want to hire.
Well, because the active work is what gets you that money so you can invest in long term.
So that's what I'm doing basically. I've been stacking that capital so that now I can sell these and buy more cash and have.
So a lot of the flips so the deals that you've done, you've saved up the money.
Right, or however you're investing into the next one. Basically. But every deal up until the last one has been a partnership. So I've always had to split that money. So now I'm to the point where this last deal that I'm working on, there's no partnership. Like I get to keep 100% of the profits.
Yeah.
So it's
so
it's
is that the first one then? That's the first one.
It's the first one all by myself.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I don't mind sharing the risk.
Well, no, and it's OPM, other people's money.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's the thing. Like I haven't done this. Every single deal I've done has been someone else's money. I've never used it.
And that's the thing, bro. You could change it So what's next then? So you are thinking of more passive then to keep keeping them.
And I wouldn't even call that passive because I still need to manage the
remodels. For sure. Yeah.
But yeah, more passive in a sense. I definitely want to spend more time at home. You know, I've got my day job, and then I have to go work on this house, and I have the weekends, and so I've got a 11-month-old.
Like, what's your goal? Like, how many doors are you thinking? Like, has that even hit your head yet?
Not really, man. I'm just kind of just trying to feel it out and gain confidence, gain a bigger network, and I think that I've been able to really establish myself as a go-getter, and I think I have people's trust, and they know that I work with integrity, and so I'm not opposed to working in partnerships. You know, I think they're great.
Oh yeah.
But I just think that I'm just more so to the point now where I can handle it on my own, and if the right deal comes along, then the partnership's great. But
so overall, real estate and everything, what's next for you? Like, what's in your head? Like this podcast, obviously. Like
this podcast has been a big stepping stone for me. COVID kind of hurt the video business quite a bit. There were some weddings that got canceled for that stuff, which is totally understandable. But I don't know who said it or whose quote it is, but there's a saying that you should have 3 hobbies. One that keeps you creative, one that makes you money, and one that keeps you in shape. And so for me, the video business definitely keeps me creative. I love delivering that product that makes people cry. It's awesome having that feeling. And then for real estate investing, yes, it's a side career, but it's kind of a hobby because I love it too. Yeah. And so that makes me money. Well, wealth, I guess, not really money, but it depends on how you define that. And so I'm still working on the fitness one. I kind of, unfortunately, the other 2 are kind of very time consuming, but I do understand the importance of physical fitness. And,
health is wealth, and it sounds dumb, like, oh yeah, I hear that all the time, but it's literally health is wealth. It totally is. I run every day unless I'm working on something. Like right now I'm doing some flooring actually, like myself, just because it's like the thing is, guys, sometimes it's good to get your hands dirty too, you know what I mean? And so there's a rental that I'm working on. I used to box back in the day, so I'm trying to get back into that. I used to box competitively in the amateur circuit. Honestly, like even me doing that right now, it's like physical. So always get physical, you know what I mean? And that's what changed my life. Like I said, the Think and Grow Rich book, to wrap everything up, I was running every day listening to that book. I felt like Rocky, you know what I mean? Yeah. Dude, I lost 80 pounds.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I lost 80 pounds. And it's hard to keep them off.
Well, we're not doing ourselves any favors over here drinking beers.
But I also, when I work out nowadays, it's not like, in my mind, I'm not thinking of a 6-pack. I just want to live, and especially minorities with diabetes and all these stuff that attack minorities, from the families, like just stay on track, like heart issues. Hitting that run, and what's crazy? It doesn't even have to be an hour. Like I do my 45 minutes. It could be 10 minutes, man. 15 minutes, but you do it daily. A habit that will change your life. But so anyways, go ahead. So what's next for you? Like what are your?
That's where I'm taking it right now. I don't have like ambitious goals to be a Grant Cardone right now. I think the guy is great, but that's, I don't really want a jet or anything like that. I think right now it's just, to get to the point. I think
soon we'll have the Minority Report jet.
Oh, geez. But I think, no, I mean, like I said, I'm just kind of,
casting couch.
I do need to work with my,
it's an inside joke. Yeah. The wives know about it. Chill.
I do. I just like, I do need to work on some more probably, focused goals, because right now I'm just kind of like, oh well, this is working, and I think there's always somewhere.
Do you write your goals down or no?
I don't.
Okay.
And I always read that you should, and I think
I've been doing it for 5 years, 4 years, 5 years, yeah. So I definitely. There's a
lot of work, and I hope that you guys can kind of see that, like, yes, I'm helping host this podcast, and I feel like I'm doing pretty good in the real estate investing, but I'm in no way, shape, or form a perfect, example. And so everybody's got work to do, and I know where I've got work to do, and that's where I'm at right now.
So what would you say are your top focuses right now? Top 5?
Right now is my family. I definitely need to prioritize my time better and get out of these day-to-day things, and so that's my number one focus. So that, and then just basically, building this business into something that's more of a well-oiled machine that I don't need to be involved in so hands-on.
2.
So yeah, that's the 2 things right now.
So you just have 2 goals.
Well, I mean, yeah.
No, go ahead, bro. Go ahead.
I mean,
seriously.
that's
what's
really,
the third? Like, what would you say the third one is?
That's just my focus.
Like
right
the
now.
two or that.
Those two. I'm gonna focus on those for now, and then
opening time.
Right. Ask me again in 6 months, and it'll probably.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, guys, man.
Thanks. Man. That was a lot.
Excited, bro. Yeah.
I feel like it's like a therapy session.
What, do you have a tear coming down? No, this was awesome. Make sure you guys subscribe to our channel, guys. Subscribe, follow us on IG. I'm like I said, I'm excited. I'm pumped. This has been great, man. This was a great episode again.
Thanks,
like I feel like we did it again, dude. Like so far,
I
all our 2 episodes, we've been killing the game. Cheers, man. Subscribe, guys. Let's get it.
All right, we'll see you guys next week. Take care.
Please don't segregate. Dressed in a suit, I can't relate. Minority report, can't ignore being rich from poor and your credit score. My hand to please don't segregate. Dressed in a suit, I can't relate.